Let's talk about the kind of story that makes South Africans stop scrolling and start shaking their heads. The story of Shauwn, better known as MaMkhize, and how the taxman just came for her luxury lifestyle. Because this week, while some people were talking about politics and the chaos in Parliament, another storm was quietly unfolding online, a luxury auction that had the whole of South Africa watching, whispering, and bidding. Yes, the online auction of MaMkhize's assets has officially closed, and if you thought this was just about handbags, you're wrong. This was a public display of wealth, power, and the reality check that comes when SARS decides to knock on your door. For years, MaMkhize has lived like South Africa's unofficial queen of luxury. Expensive cars, designer clothes, houses that look like palaces, and a social media presence that screams confidence and money. She has built a brand around success, the self-made woman who rose from the ashes to build empire after empire. But when the South African Revenue Service walks into your life, none of that glitter can protect you. It all started when SARS seized several of her assets over unpaid taxes. The drama unfolded publicly. Trucks pulling up to her properties, loading cars, handbags, art pieces, and whatever else could be turned into cash. According to reports, at least 10 trucks were used to clear out the assets from her Sandton home and her training facility outside Pietermaritzburg. And when I say trucks, I don't mean a few little backies. I'm talking about heavy-duty carriers, tow trucks, and even rigs for construction vehicles. The image of SARS officials rolling out of her estate with luxury cars and shipping containers was shocking. To many South Africans, it looked like justice. To others, it looked like humiliation. But one thing's for sure, it showed that even the rich and powerful are not immune when the taxman says it's time to pay. Now, fast forward to this week. Those very same assets have gone under the hammer through a company called Bidder's Choice, an online auction house known for dealing with high-value seized goods. The auction opened on Friday, October 10th, and closed on October 15th. At first, bids came in slowly. Maybe people were hesitant. Maybe they didn't believe it was real. But as word spread, the interest exploded. Here's what was up for grabs: 18 luxury handbags and luggage items, all authenticated, all designer, all real. And that's important, because for years there's been a running joke that some of MaMkhize's luxury bags were fake. The gossip on social media always found a way to say, that one's probably from China Mall. Well, the auction proved otherwise. Every bag was verified, every one genuine. By the time bidding closed, every single item had been claimed. Let's talk numbers for a second, because they tell their own story. The highest bid went to a St. Laurent Care maxi shopping handbag with pouch. It fetched a staggering 73,000 rand. 73,000 for one handbag. That's a used car. That's a month's salary for 3 people combined. And that's just one item. The second highest was a Goyard yellow St. Honoré trunk clutch, sold for 70,500 rand. 2 Louis Vuitton Zephyr suitcases went for around 61,000 each. A Gucci Horsebit 1955 shoulder handbag set went for 57,000. A Louis Vuitton monogram canvas case for 51.5. A Goyard red Villette French Bulldog tote for 50,000 flat. And it goes on and on. By the time the auction closed, bids were pending finalization on everything: handbags, art pieces, even random items like pin boards that sold for 10 rand and wooden materials that also went for 10. Imagine that, from 73,000 rand designer bags to our 10 household items. It paints a strange picture of excess meeting reality. But the auction didn't stop at handbags. There was also a 2021 Lamborghini Urus, the same one people have seen MaMkhize showing off on social media. The bid for that luxury SUV is sitting at 4.8 million rand, pending final approval. Let that sink in. Our 4.8 million for a car that once symbolized her status, now part of a legal tug-of-war over unpaid taxes. There's something almost cinematic about this story. The glamorous businesswoman, the empire, the whispers of power and politics, the flashy cars, and then the fall. SARS isn't just taking luxury goods. They're sending a message. No matter how famous you are, how connected you are, or how many followers you have, the law is the law. But here's where the story gets even more interesting. You see, MaMkhize isn't new. to controversy. She's faced tax problems before, long before the social media fame and the reality TV spotlight. Back in the early 2000s, she was already on SARS's radar for business irregularities linked to her construction company, MaMkhize. She's always found a way to come back stronger. And to her credit, she's built real wealth, real assets, and a loyal following. But it's also true that when you live publicly and loudly, every stumble becomes front-page news. So while her fans on Instagram are flooding her comments with love and encouragement, others are asking the hard questions. How did it get to this point again? How does someone so successful end up losing multi-million rand property and handbags to the taxman? And is this really just about taxes? Or is there something deeper at play? Because let's be honest, in South Africa, big names don't get embarrassed like this unless someone somewhere wants to send a signal. SARS has been under pressure to prove that it's not afraid to go after the rich and powerful. The public wants accountability, not just for politicians, but for every high-profile figure who seems to live large while ordinary people drown under the weight of tax. And so, MaMkhize has become an example, willingly or not, of what happens when glamour meets governance. Now, let's not pretend this doesn't sting for her. Imagine waking up one day and realizing that items you once flaunted online are now being sold to strangers on the internet. Imagine seeing headlines breaking down your life by brand names and price tags. That's not just financial loss. That's public embarrassment on a national scale. But here's the thing about MaMkhize, she's resilient. She's been through worse storms and somehow always comes out looking untouched. This might be another chapter in her long story of reinvention. Maybe she'll call it a lesson. Maybe she'll use it for content. Maybe she'll just rebuild quietly. But if there's one thing we know about her, it's that she knows how to turn scandal into strategy. Still, the timing of this auction is what makes people talk. It comes just as South Africa's economy continues to struggle, as people face retrenchments and food prices skyrocket. To see handbags going for 70,000 rand while others can't afford bread, it stirs emotions. Some people are angry, others are entertained, but everyone's watching. It's also a reminder of how the world of luxury and power is shifting in South Africa. For a long time, flashy wealth was celebrated. The cars, the clothes, the lifestyle. But the mood has changed. People want authenticity now. They want responsibility. And maybe this moment, this very public auction, is a sign of that shift. Even so, let's not forget how deep MaMkhize's influence runs. She's more than just handbags and cars. She's connected politically, socially, and in business circles. Her name carries weight, and she's managed to turn herself into a brand that's bigger than any one scandal. That's why, even after all this, she'll probably bounce back. But this time, SARS has left a mark that even she can't erase easily. And it raises a bigger question. How many others are out there living the same way, flying under the radar until the taxman decides enough is enough? How many other high-profile names will we see on Bidder's Choice next month? Because if SARS is serious about cleaning up, then this might just be the beginning of a new chapter where wealth without compliance comes with consequences. Now, while the handbags and cars might be the talk of the town, what really matters is what happens next. Will MaMkhize settle with SARS? Will more of her assets go under the hammer? Or will this all fade away, like so many South African scandals do, replaced by the next headline in a few weeks? What's undeniable is that the auction marks a symbolic moment, the fall of untouchable glamour into the hands of reality. 1 minute you're buying a Saint Laurent bag for 70,000. The next minute it's being auctioned online for strangers to argue over. It's a strange, poetic ending for someone who once said that her wealth was God-given and that she was untouchable. Maybe this is life reminding her and all of us that nobody is untouchable when the system decides to balance the books. So, what do you think? Is this justice served, or just another celebrity takedown for the cameras? Are we witnessing accountability, or are we seeing selective targeting? Because depending on who you ask, this story is either proof that SARS is finally doing its job, or proof that fame always attracts fire. Either way, one thing is clear. MaMkhize's empire may not be finished, but it's been shaken. Her luxury lifestyle has been exposed in the most public way possible, and now, the rest of South Africa gets to decide what that means. This is the price of living large in a country where the walls between glamour and governance are getting thinner every day. And maybe, just maybe, that's exactly the kind of wake-up call this country needs.